Aloha, my la familia. I knocked some of it down. I'm gonna have to turn this into some tea. But this is the plant that can help to save the teeth of a human horsetail. This is not the. It is the one you want. There's two species and only one that works. I had the screamingest toothache I've ever had in my life. I went to Western Dental to get it pulled, and the guy said, 20-something-year-old young dentist says, well, I pull it, but I got to put a plug. And I said, what's that? And the receptionist told me it's cadavers. And my insurance didn't cover it, so I had to pay $500 out of my pocket for a tiny amount of someone's dried up bones that they bleached and smashed into a tiny piece of tooth, which someone told me, I think I already have one in there, but next to it. So I went to Staff Life Market and went online, and I found a wonderful video on BitChute called Alternatives to Dentist. And the first image shows a tooth with a light bulb in it. And this man, Douglas Simon of rural California here, he grows these plants, and I think it's the cousin of this one, and it's the highest ratio of silica in any plant. And it turns out for the ascension, our body is, those of us that are going to ascend, our body is going to become this silica crystal body rather than carbon base. So since it's Sunday morning, I have to say, if any of my crew and friends and family watching were wondering, beside the Stubbs protection prayer I got from his book, it's for longer than I can remember, probably more than half my life, I've always constantly given thanks to soul, to the Mother Earth, to the breath of life, and to the waters of life. Continually in my subconscious, my mind, it's been my thing. I'm not saying it's the be-all to end-all, but it's definitely protected me, helped me, and guided me at times. And since that's been a habit for probably 20 years. But the topic I have that I wanted to discuss today for a sermon here on Sunday is basically shaman kindergarten. Now, I made another video here after I just had a coffee this morning, and I realized it was probably saying too many things people didn't want said, and that I was making it kind of an angry video for my friend, which I may, if he wants to watch it with him. But so I think what would be more appropriate, sitting here amongst the beautiful horsetail, I decided it would be the most appropriate location for this. I was going to discuss basic shaman kindergarten. This is like first chapter of Castaneda book, the emotional body. Because so many people, tragically, I've never heard of it, or in the 3D slave world, or even in the narcissistic world of the artist. It's just too convenient. It's too much a heavy part of the conditioning we're under here for anyone to know it exists, unless you read Castaneda or had another shamanic teacher. So I guess it's Toltec shamanism. But what is the emotional body? Well, it's all your feelings, your attachments, your memories, your hauntings, the towns, your loved ones, your sexual partners, your parents, your children. They can all be a part of it. It's all your feelings about everything. But trauma or stress, or if something happens to deeply traumatize you, gets lodged in your emotional body. And I've learned there's one of them, the physical technique to help remove those. If you learn what it was supposed to teach you was the teaching here, but so stress can imprint in your emotional body. So, say, particularly if you live in this part of the world, if you're from a poor family or homeless, working class, you might begin to believe that everyone's stressed out, running late, working all the time, working late hours, and that it's a very, dog eat dog, stressful world. And so that can have an imprint in your emotional body. As human beings, as 3D slaves or as just simply normal mind-controlled humanoid type people, we're conditioned to be stuck in our thoughts, because the thoughts and your emotions, everything in your emotional body, if it's negative, is fuel for the dark ones. So that's why triggering is a really big thing for people. Say a word, say a friend of mine, it's the word magic, because they like Alex Jones, and say Max Igan and Alex Jones are grand examples of cats who can tell you the truth. But even though they've been fined $1 trillion and had to move to Mexico for doing it, you get the feeling that there's so many people behind them, or they have so much financial or social authority and clout. Well, they're both from a lot of wealth, I guess, and so they're not really, they're not really in danger in the grand scheme from the dark side, because if they make you feel terrified and shocked and afraid, and you make you certain you're going to run out of food, and yeah, it's great to collect seeds and keep preparing, but if these people with millions of followers have terrified you out of your peace of mind, what is that doing to your emotional body, is what I'm asking you, okay? So someone might, when they say press your buttons, that's another word for the triggering of your emotional body. So someone, your inner me, as I would call it, they know how to press your buttons. So old friends, Castaneda would say erase personal history, and I thought that was a horrible idea at first, but there's certain people, you have to so-called forgive and forget. However, if you continue to indulge and spending time with them, you might become stuck in your ways. Your emotions might become stuck. Okay, the fourth dimension is the next one over from the one that most of you people are used to, unless you're an enlightened or aware fifth dimensional being. Okay, and in the fourth dimension is where all the demons, all the ghosts, the Zetas do their powerful black magic. And I see it all the time. If you're not aware of it, I didn't write that down. I changed my thing here. I still would say this is spontaneous, but I'm actually using the mighty power of the pen to jot down ideas, but it's coming from the same spontaneous source right now. This day, I thought of all these. I thought of the idea to make this. Okay. So I didn't write this word, but this is what it is. It's piggybacking. Whenever you're really angry, upset, worried, feeling emotionally distraught, if you live in the coast of California, Santa Clara Valley, Santa Cruz, there's a Hadron Collider, there's all kinds of other things. Like I say, for years I was asking my friends, why does it sound like a flat screen TV in the forest? Because it's very heavily, intentionally radiated by these beings. And they will broadcast frequencies that will make you feel depressed, afraid, anxious. And so that's why meditation, clearing, and a lot of people like to do stuff like go to places like this, like serene nature spots, do some deep breathing and meditate. take a tiny amount of cannabis, but you know, if you have cancer, maybe you need to take more. I mean, but the whole thing is the opposite is true too. If you can get out of your, I did write that down. If you can kick yourself out of your comfort zone, go somewhere else for a moment, see what that's like. You know what? I'm gonna split this up into two because I feel this limitation of, because I refuse to get a microwave cell phone, and this is the only way I'm willing to microwave myself. It turns out I'm not in YouTube kindergarten. It's just their policy that is very similar to me. A good analogy I have is there's a man who brings a bunch of dogs here. I would be a dog walker, but they said you have to have a smartphone, so I'm not doing it. I mean, this one company, I could start my own. So, but the other thing that's in the fourth dimension is your memories and your projections into the future, or the feelings you have about your fun, your joy, the importance of things, places, kisses, sex, meditation, your ability to make friends with others and to move forward. It also represents so-called moving through time, your actual experience, not the clocking in, slave time, clock time. But say when you go to a concert, if you've watched my other video about timelessness, you can check that out. If you go see a really good concert, you maybe seem like it was 5 or 7 hours or 10 minutes. But I remember leaving some of my favorite Fish shows and thinking, well, what am I going to do now? Because I was actually in some other time dimension that was more beautiful than the linear slave, the hard Saturnian reality. So speaking of that, hard drugs are a very heavy impression into your fourth dimensional emotional body. Okay, all of your habits make an imprint. Everything you think about the past and the future, judgments, um, and like I say, if you can learn to intentionally take a tolerance break off your whatever, one day off of any habit, or one half a day if you have illness and you need that, whatever you can manage to make yourself do, then you will be able to expand or feel differently in your emotional body. But it lodges, it stores all that. Your feelings are. See, I'm a songwriter, so this is a very potent subject that is very repressed, very very suppressed, and very important in my heart, because there's no way I would have ever been able to write songs if my emotional body was as suppressed and full of Zeta interference as a lot of my dear friends and family. And I pray that they could, get through that, so that they could, at least, or learn to meditate is one way to defeat it, so that they could learn to feel their creative feelings without thinking, I can't feel that, or I got to go to work, or I'm not a creative person, or the anxiety makes, the demons, it's basically like the little gray men basically have an amplifier on all your negative emotions, man. Like there's seals. I got to get my seals removed, man. Like there's implants. Most all of us have implants, okay? And it works off your negative emotions. So that's why I say the Buddhism is one of the greatest ways to begin to transcend the demonism of the fourth dimension, okay? But A Course in Miracles, I say go watch Ireland Clark's video on that, because she made 2 days ago. It really says what's up with that. And but getting real clarity with your feelings, your emotions, is essential for the ascension and your well-being and your health. And if you don't, you'll suffer. If you do, you'll feel a lot more peace.